What you doing? Huh? Huh? You doing good? Right, Jules? Oh. It's almost bedtime. All right, hi guys. Hey guys. All right, so I am putting this video together for you guys based on the votes on my Instagram. I got a lot of questions about how my labor and my delivery were with Mr. Jules here. So I didn't want to post much on Instagram. You guys know I don't really throw my personal life out there a lot, or kind of certain decisions that I find can be very controversial on Instagram. And honestly, most things have a tendency to be controversial on Instagram. So I know that for those of you who are really truly interested in how my experience went with my firstborn, I know that you guys will respect that my decisions here, and pretty much, you know, keep it positive, keep it light. You know, we all have different experiences. We grow up differently. We have different lifestyles. We come from different cultures. We have just everything about each of us is so different. And I always try to stay myself in a neutral zone, especially through social media and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure you guys know that about me. But again, I just wanted to preface it here because I want to tell you about my story and I don't want to leave anything out, but I also know that maybe one or two of my decisions you guys might not agree with, and that's okay, because we all have differences of opinion and we all have a different pregnancy and different experience throughout the labor aspect as well. So just wanted to disclaim that before we get into the last Sunday. So baby Jules, his name is Julian Avery Bossert. He was born last Monday at 12:44 p.m. So an afternoon baby. Basically what happened, guys, was I was 40 weeks on November 29th. So that was Black Friday. Now, when I say that, I will say that that was based off of the app that I use to track my periods. So whether that was accurate or not, when I first went into my first 9-week appointment with my OBGYN, she actually measured him to where he would be, his 40 weeks would have been December 2nd, actually. So I kind of thought, okay, maybe it's, you know, Black Friday, but it could go into December 2nd, right? So Thanksgiving week rolls around. We had a great time with our family, and I was starting to feel a few more contractions, more Braxton Hicks. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was bouncing on my Swiss ball. I was eating my hot foods, but I always eat hot foods, so that really didn't matter. I was doing a little bit of like nipple stimulation. I was told that warm compresses on your breasts and basically stimulating your nipples, massaging them, basically kind of getting them ready to think that they're breastfeeding is something that might stimulate contractions and get you going. So once Friday rolled around, I definitely was like, okay, I want him to come. I don't want to be too late so that in case he's too big. But guys, I was really comfortable. My worst trimester was the first trimester, to be honest. Lethargy and exhaustion hit me so hard that first trimester, and then the food aversions and the food cravings were just unreal. I never experienced that before. Third trimester, I slept great. I had more energy than I think I had even in the second trimester. I could feel him more, so you just know that it's more real. I had a great third trimester. I would actually do the third trimester over 3 more times, you know. And so anyways, going right into the weekend. So Friday rolls around, no baby. But again, still in the evening, more Braxton Hicks contractions. My whole stomach was tightening up. And that was pretty much it. I wasn't really feeling anything else. Saturday rolls around, kind of same thing. I was still moving around. Worked out on Saturday morning. I worked out actually on Sunday morning. I only did lightweight shoulders on Sunday, and I also was trying to walk a little, but my walking on Sunday felt a little different. I think it was more, you know, just some more pelvic pressure, and I was just feeling a little bit slower than I normally do, like in the nether region. And then Scott and I went to breakfast together. We were gonna kind of have a day together, thinking, because I did have a scheduled induction on Tuesday that my OB just believes that, you know, she didn't want me to go too far along, and I was okay with it. I definitely was trying things to get me and to go into natural labor early. Obviously, I think I did. I started Wednesday and Thursday at Thanksgiving, and I was trying things. I was walking. You guys saw my stories. I was walking a good amount with Jax, and I was just trying to stimulate a natural birth, natural contractions, so that I didn't have to be induced on Tuesday. But that's plan B. That was going to be plan B for me. And so come Sunday, Scott and I went to breakfast. We went to our favorite place here that's local, got pancakes, and it was delicious. And while we were sitting there, I was starting to feel more pain in my pelvis area, not my stomach and my lower back. So my lower back and my pelvic area, I was starting to feel like, okay, that's new. It wasn't, you know, really harsh. It wasn't consistent, but I think I might have felt like 2 while we were at breakfast. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm already overdue. This is a new feeling. Okay, Scott, how about we don't go to our movie that we were planning on going to? Let's just stay home, relax. He watched football and took a nap, which was probably good. And my mom came over, and I was starting to feel contractions. I wasn't sure if they were contractions at first. Like I'm always questioning things. And so once they started becoming more consistent, I started tracking them on an app, which I will recommend to you guys. If I forget what the app is actually, let me show you. Because it helps time your contractions. So it's called Contraction Timer, I think. And it was so easy. It was so easy. You just press start. You can show the, if it was a mild contraction, moderate, medium, heavy contraction, etc. Then you press start for the contraction, and then once it goes away, you obviously press stop. For me, in order to track them, I had to get under, or in order for me to get to the hospital, I needed to get under 1 contraction every 5 minutes for an hour, okay? So at this time, it was about 6 p.m. on Sunday, and contractions definitely started becoming more consistent and under 5 minutes. So between 6 and 7, I was tracking them. 7 to 8 o'clock was the hour that they were under 5 minutes, and Scott took the boys to the kennel, and we headed to the hospital. So getting into the hospital experience. So we went to Riverside Methodist Hospital here in Columbus. It's a great hospital. I actually had my OB rotation there. So it was fun to be back. Obviously that was years ago, but went in, got into triage. They took my blood pressure. They hooked me up to the belly monitor. Baby was good, heart rate 150. My blood pressure was a little high, 140 over something, because I was in the midst of a contraction as she was taking it. And so that I thought was interesting. It's like, why can't you just wait until the contraction's over to take my blood pressure? I was already 4 centimeters dilated, which was fabulous. So that was great. I was 2 centimeters dilated the Wednesday prior to this Sunday, right? The Wednesday right before Thanksgiving. So I was progressing, but he hadn't dropped yet. I didn't break, my amniotic fluid didn't break, my mucus plug didn't come out or anything like that. It was merely just contractions. And so I got to the hospital, and Scott did record pretty much us walking in the hall. And I did it for about an hour, 45 minutes, and every single contraction started getting harder and harder.
Show your awesome kicks.
Oh, my stockies.
Non-slippers.
My stockies. Do some calf raises. You do like side shuffles.
Oh, that's good.
That good?
I'm impressed.
As a hand falls out.
4 sets. Spin around. Where are we going?
Stay right here for a second.
Doing okay? Okay. You got it. You got it. You're good. Couple seconds. Deep breath in your nose, out your mouth. Deep breath in your nose, out your mouth. Almost done. Less than 10 seconds. Less than 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Good job.
Thanks, babe.
Good job.
Okay, next round.
You wait here, I'm gonna go get some ice cream.
Go get some ice cream. Give me some ice chips.
These chips.
I can see how your mouth gets dry. And it's so hard. I know that a lot of you mamas are out there. You guys probably agree, attest to what I'm about to say, but it is very hard to describe these contractions. It is like, literally you stop in your tracks and you do have to focus on your breathing. It feels like 1,000 knives are being dug into your pelvis area and your lower back. Like, I will show you a couple clips that Scott took because we were trying to make light of the situation. But these contractions were the most painful thing I've ever felt, even over him coming out. But again, I did have some pain medication for that. So, so this was really, really challenging. 45 minutes, and you know, again, they came every 2 or 3 minutes at this point. So I would be walking down the hall, and as soon, you just feel it coming, and then you just kind of curl into a ball.
Good. Is this the baby room? Oh, somebody's rocking somebody. Mm-hmm. Oh, you okay? Okay. That one in the crib back there.
So cute. One of those is gonna come out of me.
Yeah. Wow. Do it. Hup. Hup. Where's the jump rope and you need one? Hup. Hup. Hup.
And breathe. And so by that time, I got back into my room and I did have an epidural. I can't imagine, you know, contracting and experiencing that pain for 18 hours, or let alone more than as long as I already was experiencing it. I was about to cry. I was in so much pain from the contractions, and so I did get an epidural, and it was like a godsend. It was absolutely amazing. I did not feel the contractions at all. I was still having them 2 or 3 minutes. I was actually working on patula stuff because it was going into Cyber Monday, so I was in my hospital room having contractions on my phone going over some things for Cyber Monday deals. So I just never stop, I guess. But I should have been sleeping, to be honest, because I was misinformed or unaware of how long the pushing aspect was going to take. So we'll get there in a second. But so this was about, 11 o'clock in the evening when I got the epidural, and it worked like a dream. It really did. I had a great anesthesiologist who put it in both of my legs. My left leg stayed pretty active for a majority of the 18 hours. My right leg was definitely a little bit more numb, and I felt huge. They gave me a lot of fluid. There was a moment there where my blood pressure went down to 90. I'm normally like in the 110s over 60s, 50s. And it did drop a little bit. I wasn't dizzy, I wasn't anything, but they had me attempt a couple of different positions just to get that back up. And then the other thing that I don't know if you guys are aware of, but 1 in 4 women end up having this strep B. And honestly, I don't even remember if it's I don't know if it's a virus, it's just bacteria in your bladder. It typically causes UTIs, but I've never had a UTI, but I do have the strep B bacteria. And so I needed to actually be on a few doses of penicillin throughout my my hospital stay, or especially throughout the labor, so that when he came through the birth canal, he wouldn't be basically infected with it. And so anyway, so that kind of took us a few hours longer than than it probably would be. 11 o'clock, epidural went in. 2 a.m. was when they were able to break my water, and at that point it was at 6 centimeters. I was at 6 centimeters. The reason they could break my water then was because I just had my second dose of penicillin, and that's pretty much what they needed to wait on. So otherwise, maybe they could have broken my water earlier. So no big deal, things were still going good. And then 5:30 rolls around. Scott was napping, but they were watching baby, and I actually did have an anterior placenta as well, guys. So something with that, the anterior placenta, that is one reason why I probably didn't feel him kicking until about week 22. When some of you guys might feel your babies at 18 or 20 or earlier. The placenta is attached to the front. The placenta was attached to the front of my stomach with him. So with that, the complication here came when I would contract, and I'd have several contractions in a row, like really back to back. It would drop his heart rate a little bit. So that I was a little nervous about, but the nurses were amazing. They would come in, they would make sure that things were good. Again, repositioning me a little also did help. So, and then another thing, I think maybe due to the contractions and him having a little bit of a challenge in there, there was meconium in the amniotic sac, so that was another thing that we needed to watch. They were just saying that baby might be stressed in there a little, and probably due to the contractions clamping down on the oh my goodness, the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord. So yeah, so there was a few things that we were keeping an eye on, but otherwise I was still doing great. 5:30 a.m. rolls around, and I'm 9.5 centimeters dilated, which is fabulous, right? So we're texting my mom, we're texting Scott's mom, and we're thinking that it's kind of gonna be soon that things are going to start happening. And little did I know that that last 0.5 centimeters took like 3.5 hours to finish opening. And he hadn't really fully dropped yet. What was the other thing? And then my contractions did start to slow down. And so I don't know, they were about every 4 minutes. I don't know if that was due to the epidural, if that was due to the length of the labor at this point. I'm not really sure, but that was kind of another thing we were looking at. At this point, I'm exhausted, but I'm still there. I'm still awake. I was watching Friends all night. I was watching Christmas movies all night, and then working on Patula stuff. I should have been sleeping because little did I know, basically once shift change came around and a new nurse came in, around 11, we kind of got situated to where we were gonna start to push. They gave me a little bit of Pitocin, just a small amount, just to kind of bump up my contractions a little bit more to help with my natural ability to bear down and to push because of the epidural and everything like that. So give me 1 second.